In the blockchain context, one of the things you need to recognize is that because the blockchain technology is not all the same, you have different technologies that can actually be used in different ways, and different technologies that may actually more or less address some of the GDPR concerns that Christopher and others have raised. So Ethereum is one of these that is written differently. So when I said a moment ago that the Bitcoin type code is designed for a fairly simple series of transactions, admittedly huge potential volume, but a fairly simple transaction. Ethereum is actually written in a way so that you can build contracts into it, so that it's not just the exchange of value, but it's more if this, then that, and at least theoretically, Peter McLaughlin, can build a fairly rudimentary smart contract along that line. So how does this help with GDPR and data protection more generally? So ignoring all of the questions that Christopher raised about whether blockchain technology is even compliant or usable, from your operational perspective, there's significant opportunities to develop proprietary blockchain platforms within your organizations that will help you in different use cases. Now, obviously, this is brand new. We're still trying to figure out all the flavors of blockchain. But if you think about consent management, which we've had for a while with tools like Possible Now, and those wretched subject access requests that Ellis, which is sort of a new way to describe them that I hadn't heard of before, but subject access requests, I think it was The Guardian a month or so ago had an article about how subject access requests have just exploded. Not that you hadn't had the right before, but with all of this GDPR publicity, everyone sort of discovered it. And Ellis at BP and the SAP folks, I believe, were talking about how to operationalize these. Ellis said, it's extraordinarily expensive, it's difficult, it's time-consuming, we're doing it manually. Now, if an organization like BP, which is allocated about $1 million a day, I think he said, which is a lot of money. $1 million a day to these sorts of things. If they're doing it manually, then how are the rest of us going to deal with subject access requests on any sort of scale at all? Blockchain. So the idea is that blockchain technology will enable you to tag data from a wide variety of sources, whether it is Peter McLaughlin's Facebook-like and social media, order history, transactions, employment records, any number of different use cases. And so the primary one that has come up so far, I'm going to hold that slide quite yet. So the primary one that has come up so far as our initial use case is indeed subject access requests. So what do we need to operationalize subject access requests? Well, from an individual's view, somehow I need to be able to access my records, and the company needs to have some level of confidence that the records that they are showing me properly reflect the whole or the vast majority of, preferably the whole, but they show me the range of data held about Peter McLaughlin. I then, as an individual, need some way to be able to say, I'd like to change that. I'd like to take that with me, and I'd like you to delete it. I would like to correct that. I would like to change my my communication preferences, not just on marketing, but for everything else, I don't want you sending my data to, these vendors. And fundamentally, what you're thinking about is that these are a series of if-then statements. And depending on how you have developed the code, the code as law, it then automates this. And it's not just in the context of HR data. It's not just in the context of social media data. It's not just in the context of fundraising or e-commerce transactions, but it enables the individual to view and to exercise their article, the whole range of GDPR rights. On the business's side, it enables them to make sure that these things are actually being done. So it sort of task management to make sure that things are operating correctly. You can audit it. When your DPO says, can we talk about how well we're performing with regard to subject access requests? It produces audible reports, and and at least in theory, that's the way it should work.